Hey everyone, and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today I want to be talking about many recent developments regarding Blizzard and Blizzard Activision and some of the things that have happened there in regards to the state of California actually suing Blizzard over long-term culture of sexual harassment, of making employees feel unheard, unlistened to, with some egregious cases, even to the point where a young woman committed suicide over the abuse that she had endured with her nude photographs being shared by people during a work trip, people that she worked with and that she should have had respect from and trust from and safety, but it went much beyond that. This has been happening for apparently many years at Blizzard, and just a week ago, the state of California came out with a civil suit to try to hold people accountable. Now, I want to discuss with you guys why I am making a video about this. I'm hoping that with the extra attention on it, because this is a greater problem than just Activision Blizzard, it can be quite worldwide spread. It can be at different companies as well. And it can be difficult to put in perspective just how we should now feel towards the games that we've always liked to play, the company that sometimes perhaps we put on a pedestal, and indeed any future instance of such things happening. How do you come to terms with the feelings that you may have in regards to that? Should you boycott and censor everything? It's certainly a difficult and thorny matter. We must keep in mind that at a company where abusers have worked, necessarily there are also victims. These victims have their livelihood dependent on the job that they have, and they would rather improve things where they are and heal things, because the people that didn't have the strength or ability or anything to deal with it head on and make a thing out of it like it is now, they would have just left quietly, abused, internalize it, and try to find another place where they don't get abused. Everyone has to deal with it how they can deal with it themselves, with abuse and harassment, but it's just going to go on if there's not more education towards everyone, both people that get victimized, knowing what kind of channels you can have to empower the fight against this kind of harassment, and also people that have accidentally or intentionally been disrespectful towards other people, that have stepped over boundaries, that have indulged in what would be described as sexual harassment. Hopefully they can learn from that as well and be held accountable for that which has happened up to this point. So we're going to go through a few articles and see, there is a big issue of a bad culture, and there's also been many responses since, both by Blizzard management as well as by people that have worked there. It's been all over the news for the last week, and I'm going to highlight a few articles from that. So step number one is here: Activision Blizzard lawsuit alleges discrimination, sexual harassment, and frat boy culture. A spokesperson has responded to deny the accusation. The filing is fairly lengthy. There's a multi-page document with some truly disturbing shit. Nude photographs of a woman on a boat trip shared, of her private areas shared with people to the point where she committed suicide. There's been someone that has worked at Blizzard, Alex Dafribiasi, that has worked at Blizzard for like 15 years in the World of Warcraft team, that has countless of accusations against him, alleging that he has harassed people, asking them to marry him, harass women, asking them to marry him, touching them inappropriately, and he allegedly had a room that they called the Cosby Suite, with all the connotations that brings into mind. Disgusting stuff. Women were subject to numerous sexual comments and advances, groping and unwanted physical touching, and other forms of harassment. Female employees working for the World of Warcraft team noted that male employees and supervisors would hit on them, making derogatory comments about rape and otherwise engage in demeaning behavior. One former chief technology officer is accused of groping inebriated female employees at company events and was known for making hiring decisions based on female applicants' looks. I'm just imagining being a woman who wants to go to work and to work for her dream company, working on a game that she loves, and that you cannot freaking zone out. Not just people hitting on you or trying to ask you out on a date respectfully, and because I can imagine it could be like lonely males working there or something, or there could be people interested in you. That's part and parcel of life. As a woman, no doubt you endure countless of valid and invalid pickup attempts, people that you are or are not interested in, and when done respectfully, there should still be a place for that. Even if you think like you may not want to have relationships with people at work at all as a man or a woman. Maybe you want to keep it separate. But for people to try to, I guess, hit on you, even if you don't like it, it's somehow kind of unpreventable. But there's a big difference to asking someone out on a date respectfully and accepting no for an answer, and then leaving it at that and continuing to work professionally, and denying them for promotions, or talking shit about them afterwards when you get rebuffed, or taking it to the next level and not taking no for an answer. That's where it becomes harassment. And I'm just trying to imagine trying to work at a company and like having to deal with that. It's horrible. Complaints were treated in a perfunctory and dismissive manner and not kept confidential. Staff who complained were subjected to retaliation, being deprived of work on projects, unwillingly transferred to different units, and selected for layoffs. An African American employee who worked in information technology was made by her manager to write a one-page summary of how she would spend time off when requested, when no one else was made to do the same thing. So and you can read this yourself. The link is pretty easy to read and to read it yourself. And then we go on to the next. There are a number of responses from Activision Blizzard that have heard these allegations coming out. And there was a response from J. Allen Brack, Francis Townsend, and I forgot what his name is. J. Allen Brack sent out an internal email, and I think I have that right here. Here. Hello, Blizzard. I personally have a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday, and I know you do too. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees are extremely troubling. I know many of you would like to receive more clarity. While I can't comment on the specifics of the case as it's an open investigation, what I can say is that the behavior detailed in the allegations is completely unacceptable. It is completely unacceptable for anyone in the company to face discrimination or harassment. Everyone should feel safe working here, whether we're on campus at Blizzcon or working from home. And it takes courage to come forward, and all claims brought to the company are investigated by internal and, when needed, external investigators. We take these claims very seriously. Claims can be made without fear of retaliation, and many times I attend to them personally along with our other leaders. Stepping back, when I talked with Bobby about taking this job, one of the first things I mentioned was a revered saint of the Brack household, Gloria Steinem. Growing up, the value of women as equals, understanding the work that has been done for equal treatment, and the fact that there was still much to do were common themes. This is just one of the reasons why the fight for equality is incredibly important to me. People with different backgrounds, views, and experiences are essential for Blizzard, our team, and our player community. I disdain bro culture, and I've spent my career fighting against it. Iterating on our culture with the same intensity that we bring to our games is imperative, with our values acting as our North Star. This is some of the most important work we do as professionals and human beings. A company is more than the legal construct that exists as a piece of paper in a filing cabinet in Delaware. The people that work at the company make it what it is through their actions and creations. Each of us plays a role in maintaining a place of safety for one another, and it is also up to each of us to continue to craft the Blizzard we want and to commit doing our part in keeping Blizzard great but always aspiring for more. The leadership team and I will be meeting with many of you to answer questions and discuss how we can move forward. In the meantime, I want you to know that you can talk to any manager, any human resources partner, any member of the legal team, or anyone on the executive team, including Hey Jay, which is actually a way that you can send an email to J. Allen Brack. If you feel more comfortable talking to someone outside of Blizzard or prefer to be anonymous, you can contact the Way to Play integrity line. The weird part is, like, part of the problem that people had is when they stepped to the human resources is that there was retaliation, there was downplaying, Alex de Fribiasi, who had made many unwanted sexual advances and harassed people and touched them without consent and so on and so on, he had been called too friendly by his colleagues of equal stature because he is a higher up, which is not at all about being too friendly. It's a vast understatement of things. So it's a bit weird to say that, like, if you have a complaint and you get punished for it and not taken seriously by the supervisor, for J. Allen Brack then to say, you can just step to the supervisor. You wouldn't feel safe complaining to anyone. I feel angry, sad, and a host of other emotions, but I also feel grateful to work alongside a set of leaders and thousands of employees who join me in their commitment to continuous improvement. So most of this just feels like a smokescreen to me. The midsection is just self-promotion of the company. This part about going to your supervisors is weird because those are the very people that didn't listen to them or punish them for having an opinion that they shouldn't be harassed. And then he says he feels angry and sad and he has emotions. So it doesn't really feel like very useful or very appropriate. So that's his response. And then there's Frances Townsend, who started working for Blizzard in March of 2021. So she's been there for 4 months as a rather higher up, the Chief Compliance Officer. She used to work for the Bush administration in 2003 to 2007 as Homeland Security. And she joined here briefly, and this is her response. I wanted to reach out to you. I know this has been difficult for many of us. A recently filed lawsuit presented a distorted and untrue picture of our company, including factually incorrect, old, and out of context stories, some from more than a decade ago. Doesn't mean because they're old that they're not real. The Activision companies of today, the Activision companies that I know, are great companies with good values. When I joined the executive leadership team, I was certain that I was joining a company where I would be valued, treated with respect, and provided opportunities equal to those afforded to the men of the company. People aren't, like, this isn't just about anti-women sentiments and sexual harassment of women. It is also very much about power abuse. When someone holds your salary in their hands, you're not going to be daring to give them much trouble because they are in charge of your salary, which is where the power imbalance comes from. As the Chief Compliance Officer, of course there's not going to be men that are like earning a third of what she's earning, way lower on the ladder, going to try to harass her because they'll be instantly fired. But it's supervisors that harass women or men underneath them, that's going to be more easily. Yeah, that's going to happen more often. Like, her experiences do not invalidate other people's experiences. She's making it about her and not about others. As a leader, I am committed to making sure that the experience that I have is the same as the rest of the organization. We have a leadership team that is committed to these principles. I mean, you can read the rest, you can pause and read the rest, but I don't feel like reading out everything actually, because it feels weird to like actually read this out word by word when she's actually just promoting the company in this section and not addressing what happened at all and just called it false. Grubby, when you went to Blizzard, did you experience or witness any of this? No, I didn't. I've never seen anything like it. When I visited the Blizzard office and the let's say the teams that have been making the games that I've made, I have seen people from what looks like all walks of life, white, Asian, women and men, straight and transgender. I've seen all kinds of walks of life that seemingly seem to be working all well together. But of course, I, as a foreign visitor, I'm not going to be privy to the day-to-day grind that is happening there. They know that a guest is coming, and like, I'm not going to see that kind of, you wouldn't see it as an outsider. And so those were the response by J. Allen Brack and by Francis, and they have a very different note. And I believe there was one other note by this guy. JL Brack, Rob Kostich, another internal email. And he said, "It's deeply disturbing. Some of you may have seen the allegations reported by the Department of Fair Employment and Housing in California. It's deeply disturbing. Let me be clear, there's no tolerance for this type of behavior in our workplace or frankly in our society. We as a company take every allegation seriously and investigate all claims. When wrongdoing is found, those responsible are held accountable, and we will continue to do so. Each of you deserves to be treated with dignity, equality, and respect at all times. The behaviors described are not reflective of Activision company values, especially champion the United people. Our values are not just words on a page, they are at the core of who we are day to day and who we aspire to be for years to come. If you need to talk to anyone, please reach out to your manager, HR partner, a trusted leader, or me. You can also check out Way to Play. Everyone should feel respected, safe, and valued." I'm gonna read a little bit of chat. Their official response was rushed and dismissive, indeed, but glad to hear others existing employees and ex-employees speaking for changes. Exactly. This letter was awful to read in particular, especially given she supposedly only started to work for ATVI during the pandemic a few months ago too. Yeah, 4 months. Change the music for this topic. Yeah, I mean, we don't really need, I guess, maybe I can just do Reign of Chaos OST is pretty chill, because it went like full StarCraft 2 hillbilly. Reign of Chaos is pretty good theme sound for it. So that's Rob Kostich, and then yeah, this is actually a video that has haunted me for a couple of days, and this is a video from 2010, and I think it also shows that the times are changing a bit. We are becoming more and more educated on respecting one another, even if we often fall short of the mark. And what used to maybe pass where someone gets where someone gets like disrespected and you don't even notice it, but then later with everything you learn, you're like, hey, that was not okay. This one is actually very sad. And I honestly don't know if I would have recognized it as such 10 years ago. I hope to think so, but I also grow up and mature and try to treat people with respect as much as I know how to do so. So this is from 10 years ago, from the 2010 Q&A. Let's watch it.
Hi there, Xantia from Kieran Tor. I love what you guys done with Little Crest. I love the fact that you have a lot of very strong female characters. However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
So the question was, I love what you've done with female characters. So she's making sure not to put them on the defensive when you have some valid requests or criticism. It's nice not to go into the attack immediately. And it's like, yeah, I love what you guys have done with the characters. They're strong, but they all look like Victoria's Secret characters. This is not a sarcastic question. This is a valid question. And it's actually interesting when you listen to the audience response. It takes a bit of a trip.
However, I was wondering if we could have some that don't look like they've stepped out of a Victoria's Secrets catalog.
All right, there's a lot at play here, because initially you hear a response of support of a fairly largely sized portion of the crowd, and it also sounds like there's a good few amount of women cheering for that, showing that this has support, this question. And I think it makes sense. Having yourself represented, or seeing like someone that you can identify with and relate to, is fun for anyone. And sometimes you want to have a character that represents you, even though they're very strong and you may not be. For instance, I liked modeling myself after Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was watching Conan the Barbarian movies. I thought, like, yeah, maybe I'll be strong and big like that someday, and I can dispatch my enemies with great ease. I felt it felt relatable, even though later I learned, like, hey, Conan, he was actually a bit of a ruffian, wasn't he, and a thief. But when I was watching as a kid, he was just like a hero that slayed evil ones, right? And I would be able to identify more easily with Conan than with Xena, the warrior princess. Male, female. That's just, for all our attempts at equality, there are certain biases that we still relate to something or someone that may look like us a bit more. And part of it is like there's this circle at Blizzard. Like if almost all the developers at a company are male, they're gonna be sometimes projecting what the average gamer wants based on what they may want, and then the gamers that are playing it, maybe male will be more attracted to it because a male developed it and made everything. And then we have an article in the news about how it's mostly guys that play games. This was a very common theme 10, 20 years ago when I was starting to play online a lot. It's like, yeah, it's mostly guys. We now know that, of course, there are so many women gamers, there's so many men gamers. And if people are going to have like different interests that they have, they're going to relate to different characters. And if you make many different options, then it's going to be more inclusive. All she's asking for is a bit of inclusivity. And and then first the crowd cheered, and then there was booing, because maybe there's like a bunch of guys that are thinking like, no, I want, sexy female avatars.
What do you mean? Wait.
Which catalog would you like them to step out of?
It's very uncomfortable for her because she knows she's being belittled.
Honest looking any other way. Right. So we feel you.
This is actually Alex Afrabiasi, who had the Cosby suite and who had drinking problems allegedly and had harassed countless of women who have stepped out on Twitter and said, yeah, I have my own Alex Afrabiasi story as well. You can see the pain on her face because like she's being humiliated in front of the whole audience and belittled.
And we want to vary our female characters, absolutely. So yeah, we'll pick different catalogs.
Hey, Alex, what catalog is that Tauren female coming out of?
Not one you'd read.
Yeah, sexy cow business.
Yeah.
And that's a little uncomfortable and sad for her because they didn't take it seriously, and that's from a long time ago, but it's still valid. And then just today there was an email from Bobby Kotick to all employees, a letter, and I haven't read this one yet. So let's see what he says. Actually, he had been quiet all along so far, and finally spoke out on it. So here's the letter from Bobby Kotick. This has been a difficult and upsetting week. I want to recognize and thank all of those who have come forward in the past and in recent days. I so appreciate your courage. Every voice matters, and we will do a better job of listening now and in the future. Our initial responses to the issues that we face together and to your concerns were quite frankly tone deaf. It is imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way. I am sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding. Many of you have told us that active outreach comes from caring so deeply for the company, that so many people... This is true. Like, for the most part, people could try to find a job somewhere else, though I will say that I don't know everyone's situation, and not everyone may be able to find a job somewhere else so easily. Unless you have something lined up already, you may not have the option to just go to another company and shelve away your bad experiences and have them just shelved away and then just move on. You're trying to save what you have. So when people reach out, they are trying to fix things. Of course, hundreds or thousands of people would have left without saying anything. Of course. I have also left contact with people or organizations where I felt behavior was unfixable. Sometimes moving away is all you can do. It's when you care and want to improve it and want to continue relating to a person or organization, that's where you try to reach out. But it's never without risk. There could be massive risk to your emotional well-being, your mental health, your financial security, so much risk. That so many people have reached out and shared thoughts, suggestions, and highlighted opportunities for improvement is a powerful reflection of how you care for our communities of colleagues and players and for each other. Ensuring that we have a safe and welcoming work environment is my highest priority. The leadership team has heard you loud and clear. All of these are good words, but they mean nothing if the actions don't follow. And we all know that, right? We are taking swift action to be the compassionate and caring company that you came to work for and to ensure a safe environment. I mean, it might have something to do with the stock price dropping 9% in the last few days. That's what really hurts him, I think. There is no place anywhere at our company for discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment of any kind. We will do everything possible to make sure that together we improve and build the kind of inclusive workplace that is essential to foster creativity and inspiration. I have asked the law firm Wilmer Hale to conduct a review of our policies and procedures to ensure that we have and maintain best practices to promote a respectful and inclusive workplace. This work will begin immediately. The Wilmer Hale team will be led by Stephanie Avakian, who is a member of the management team at Wilmer Hale and was most recently the director of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission's Division of Enforcement. We encourage anyone with an experience you believe violates our policies or in any way made you feel uncomfortable in the workplace to use any of our many existing channels for reporting or to reach out to Stephanie. She and her team will be able to speak with you on a confidential basis and can be reached here. Your outreach will be kept confidential. Of course, no retaliation will be tolerated. Yeah. But wouldn't human resources also have already policies to listen to complaints and to treat them validly? It's about the enforcement of, as you said, Wayman. We are committed to long-lasting change, effective immediately. We will be taking the following actions. No, human resources working for the company, you can't go to them. Yeah, because it's not a union designed to protect your interests, right? They protect the company's interest. But here's the thing, it is in the company's interest when there's thousands of women that got harassed and are working less well because they're quitting or going on mental health downturn because they're getting harassed. It is in their interest, but it is so indirect that oftentimes they'd rather cover for a friend, a colleague, and not rock the boat when there's a troublemaker looking to draw attention to themselves. That's how they think. Employee support, listening sessions, personnel changes. We immediately are evaluating managers and leaders across the company. Anyone found to have impeded the integrity of our processes will be terminated. Well, it's like reporting someone in a MOBA, right? It's nice to know that your report is being taken seriously, but it's even better when you get an email saying that after you reported someone, it was actioned and they were banned. Actual proof of people that get fired over this because they acted with impunity, harassing people for so long, that's going to help actually show us that there is change being affected. Are they more interested in changing or fearful of the fallout? I would say more fearful of the fallout is common. Is much more likely to just be fearful of the fallout, which is why you need the actual threat of fallout for something to change. And that is the least minimum. You hope that there is a moral, ethical change and improvement in them and in society as a whole. And I think that will happen eventually, hopefully. Hopefully things keep getting better. I mean, we've left slavery behind us. We've left women belong in the kitchen behind us. I like to think that things keep getting better. And I think that people grew up and that are now in their 20s are on the average already a bit more woke than people that are now in their 50s or 60s, most likely, on average. So I hope things keep getting better. But until and when they don't do, then at least it is nice to have the threat of consequences to force things to be made better. There's always going to be backward steps as well, but that shouldn't stop us from trying to improve. Hiring practices. Earlier this year, I sent an email requiring all hiring managers to ensure they have diverse candidate slates for all open positions. Even though this should be a letter where they say they get it, whether or not they do, at least the words should say that they get it. In the complaint, there's mention of discrimination based on race as well, probably addressing that. Yeah. Maybe that's it. Your well-being remains my priority, and I will spare no company resource. All right, then just raise everyone's salary by 5%. I would feel a lot better, says employee. You have my unwavering commitment that will improve our company together and will be the most inspiring, inclusive mobile games entertainment company in the world. Yours sincerely. Okay. And then there is a walkout today. Activision Blizzard employees are planning a walkout. Employees have also published a list of 4 demands, it says, that are required to improve conditions for employees at the company. Blizzard senior software engineer Valentine Powell says the World of Warcraft leadership team will pay employees for the time they spent participating on Thursday's walkout. Original story. The call for a work stoppage. Demands also includes 4 demands that the employees say are required to improve conditions for employees at Blizzard, especially for women and women of color and transgender women, non-binary and other marginalized group. An end to mandatory arbitration clauses in all employee contracts, current and future. Arbitration clauses protect abuses and limit the ability of victims to seek restitution. I don't know what these are, actually. The adoption of recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and promotion policies designed to improve representation. Okay, this must be what Bobby was referring to. Current practices have led women, in particular women of color and transgender, non-binary, and other marginalized people that are vulnerable to gender discrimination, to not being hired fairly for new roles when compared to men. Publication of data on relative compensation, promotion rates and salary ranges for employees of all genders and ethnicities at the company. Current practices have led to aforementioned groups not being paid or promoted fairly. So there's a walkout of like 4 hours. Arbitration means you waive the right to counsel. It means when you are hired, they force an out-of-court arbiter. Okay, like a mediator of their choosing, rather than you being able to take them to court on it. Got it. So they have the force. Well, that's an interesting point, Maxco. You say, please don't say Blizzard. It's called Activision Blizzard. You're technically correct. But I also wonder if there's an undertone of blaming Activision for this more, when sadly some of this goes back to 2007 and before the merger even happened. So there has been ripples of that culture for longer, unbeknownst to us.